newspaper. Thank you very much for taking my questions. I have one question as a minister. So politically speaking, is this your position that you explained is anything related to the upcoming election? And what does it mean in terms of political meaning? Thank you.
I think this is again a misperception. Democracies do have elections, but democracies have principles and convictions. Is this being discussed in Bali in December 2013? My dear friend, this proposal emanates from the Hong Kong Ministerial Meeting of the year 2005. This is an old proposal. India has not suddenly remembered that there are going to be elections and pulled a rabbit out of the hat. That's not the case. This is an 8-year-old proposal which has been discussed and rediscussed, negotiated and renegotiated many times. And those who are in the knowledge of developments, in the year 2008, even after the near collapse in June, the agreement on agriculture continued to be negotiated. And what the G33 proposal is, actually this is not what is in the draft text, the original G33 proposal. G33 have shown flexibility and lowered the ambition just to ensure that there is a consensus. But of 2008, Rev 4, that's the revised fourth draft on agriculture, it is the unbracketed portion. This means it was the settled part of the agreement on agriculture as on December 2008. And people must respect that, what was accepted after negotiations in the year 2008.
Yes, the lady here, please.
And is India willing to present a new proposal, perhaps with other countries?
I have a counter question. When out of 10 texts, India has endorsed 8 and willing even to negotiate the outstanding issues in the TF chapter, can we barter away or compromise when it comes to a fundamental right to food security? I would like to make this absolutely clear that we have not come here as petitioners to beg for a peace clause. Restrained from what? That it is binding on us to accept 1986 to 1988 prices and make ourselves vulnerable to disputes and calculations? The answer is a firm no. This is an area, this is a fundamental issue, we will never compromise.
Do you hear me now? My name is Rachel, I work for a Brazilian...
Recently announced a tender for wheat of 2 million tons at a reduced price. Don't your critics have a point in saying that they have legitimate concerns about the distortive impact of India's policies, particularly Pakistan, your neighbor, which has been the most critical of India's policies, and shouldn't these concerns be taken into account? Thank you.
Second part of your question on wheat or tender, that is not correct. Tenders are invited, that means quotation of prices. Because when people trade, they always rates which are quoted, and they are global benchmarks. Countries would buy or import what they think they need. I don't have any issues with Pakistan on this front. Pakistan exports rice, India exports rice. But the basmati rice, there is not even a public procurement. That is a high quality rice which is never procured for food security or for public distribution in a subsidized manner. So that is not there. Now when it comes to stockholding, it has to be put again in the correct perspective. I would like to take you back to my opening statement when I said that under the public procurement for public stock holding, it is only a percentage of the total food grains produced in India, including rice and wheat, which is procured by the state for subsidized food distribution under food security entitlements. By all accounts, it has never crossed 30% of the food grain produced by the Indian farmers. 70% of what India produces goes to the market, domestic market primarily for trading purposes. Because if we produce 170, 160 million tons, then 30% of that you can calculate. The rest is open market trading, like in any country. And part of it gets exported. Why should anybody quarrel? There was a time many decades ago when I was a small child, my country had to go with a kind of a begging bowl. We were not self-sufficient in food grains. We were dependent on PL 480 program, and that is why the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, called the agricultural scientist and one of the world-renowned ones, Dr. Swaminathan, and said that what it will take to produce X million tons of food so that India is not dependent. I am proud of Indian farmers, our agricultural scientists, and the people that today they produce enough to feed India and they help other countries which are in need.
Yes, the lady at the back, please.
Linda from Indonesia's English daily, the Jakarta Post. Minister Sharma, you are demanding that the interim arrangement for the agriculture. So what kind of interim solution do you want if it is not the four-year peace clause?
I will answer. First of all, India never sought a peace clause. It is being erroneously referred to as one. We are not having a war here. We are having negotiations. So why are we negotiating for peace? We are mature nations. We may come from different levels of development. Negotiations are meant for this purpose, to build a consensus. Now your main question is about the interim solution. Let me help you. My understanding of English language is following. That interim is meant for the present. Interim is meant for the intervening period until the permanent is put in place. Interim cannot be, there is no dictionary meaning which describes interim as temporary. Am I correct? Interim is interim until the permanent is put in place. The draft makes it clear, the DG's drafts, which have been negotiated in Geneva, that the parties will commit to engage in negotiations for a permanent solution. But all I am saying, India is saying, other countries are saying, and I must say other countries too, because both from Asia, Africa and South America's big countries have spoken up, that this is a must-have for us. So we are only saying, how can there be a sunset clause when you have binding commitments in TF and interim is described as 4 years? I cannot, my teachers were good, I cannot accept this as a new dictionary meaning of the word interim.
Washington, D.C. This week and even in the arm will basically wither away. Just what is your response? I mean, what future do you see for the WTO if there's no...
WTO does have a good future. How can you say that heavens will fall if out of 10 texts proposed, 8 are adopted and 2 have to be negotiated so that there is a correct balance? Nothing is going to happen. I do not know why this gloomy scenario is being painted. Only if I sign away as a country our principles and the right to food security of the poor people, then only the WTO will be saved. Strengthening of WTO is a shared responsibility of all the members, developed countries as well as developing countries. Those who are speaking up for the poor and hungry people cannot be blamed.
La rencontre de Bali. Quelle réponse donnez-vous à